After the rain that fell in the city, the roads were wet and quiet. Daniel remembered that he had no cash left in his pocket before returning home, so he changed his route to go to the ATM on the corner. The damp cold left by the rain made it difficult to see outside through the car window. He parked his car across from the ATM and headed toward the booth. Why do they design these booths to be so narrow and suffocating? He wondered. He went inside, took out his card, and inserted it into the machine. At that moment, he noticed a movement out of the corner of his eye. He saw a shadow in the reflection of the glass. He looked up. Outside, right in front of the booth, stood a tall, broad-shouldered man. He was dressed in black. Daniel couldn't make out his face, but his silhouette was unsettling. The man stood motionless, as if not breathing. Daniel felt a chill of fear in his heart. The ATM confirmed the transaction, and the money came out. But he didn't take it. Minutes passed. Daniel paced inside the booth, constantly glancing outside. The man was still there. At one point, he considered running out to his car, but when he looked at the man again, he flinched. He quickly abandoned the idea. He pulled out his phone and, his hands trembling, called emergency services. "There's a man here," he said, his breath catching. "He's standing in front of the ATM. I can't get out. I've been waiting for minutes." The operator told him to stay calm and that the police were on their way. Daniel hung up the phone. He looked up. The man was still there. He tried to distract himself by suppressing his thoughts. After a while, he heard sirens. 2 police officers got out of their car and headed toward the booth. Daniel quickly opened the door out of breath. There he was. He was there, a huge man dressed in black. He's been here for hours. One of the police officers scanned the area. The street was empty. The other checked the security cameras. Only Daniel was visible on the monitor. There was no one outside. "Sir, there's no one here. Maybe you saw a reflection, or maybe you're tired." Daniel's face turned pale. His lips trembling, he said, "No." He was here. He was looking at me. Just then the wind blew and the glass door of the booth slammed shut. Daniel involuntarily turned and looked at the reflection in the glass and froze. In the reflection, a man in black was standing behind him. The police saw nothing. They only watched Daniel staring at an empty window. Daniel screamed, his eyes widening. His heart pounded as if it would burst from his chest. The police calmed Daniel down a little and did not leave the scene until he got into his car. The next morning, Daniel's lifeless body was found inside his car, parked in front of the ATM. The report stated heart attack. The security footage only showed Daniel panicking and heading toward his car. Nothing else. When the police reviewed the footage again, they claimed to have seen a silhouette reflected in Daniel's car headlights for a brief moment in the final frame. When they tried to rewind to that frame, the image had completely disappeared. After that day, some people who passed by the same ATM claimed to have seen a silhouette staring at them through the glass at night and pointing to the opposite sidewalk. But the police reports still stated the same thing. No one else was there. In one of the Midwestern states of America, there was an old children's shelter dating back to the 1950s. The bricks of the building were darkened. Most of the windows were broken, and the wind blew through the gaps, turning into an ominous hum in the long corridors. It had been closed years ago and sealed with a report stating that it was unsuitable for children. However, there was no clear information in official records about why it had closed. When the building's name was mentioned among the local people, there was silence. Especially the elderly would avert their eyes and say it wasn't a good place without going into further detail. These events had piqued the interest of a group of university students who decided to visit the orphanage to see if the urban legends were true. The most curious among them was Megan, a journalism student. Megan's goal was to document the night and use it for a documentary for her university thesis. The four friends set off for the orphanage where the incident had taken place. They explained their purpose to the people they encountered along the way, but no one advised them to go there. Megan and her friends were determined. What's the worst that could happen? They thought. When they entered the facility, the smell of rust mixed with dampness greeted them. The rooms where the children had stayed were still the same, except for the dust and spiderwebs, faded drawings on the walls, forgotten toys on the floor. Some were covered with strange symbols drawn in coal. Megan noticed a door ajar at the end of the corridor. When she pushed it open, a faint laugh echoed from inside. She turned to look at her friends, but they hadn't heard anything. Didn't you hear it? As the night progressed, Megan and her friends began to feel uneasy due to the oppressive and gloomy atmosphere of the building. Megan had already set up cameras and audio recorders in the rooms for the documentary she was filming. In the silence of the night, a child's voice came from one of the devices. "Shall we play a game?" The team looked at each other. One of them laughed and said, "Maybe it's the wind." But Megan's eyes widened because the voice was very clear, too real to be the wind. They rewound the device to listen to the recording again. There were whispers behind the voice. "They're watching us. Don't let them leave." Megan, who had researched the archives, had learned that dozens of children had disappeared without a trace from this institution. According to official records, they had run away, but their families had never been able to contact them. The voices they had heard that night could have been the spirits of the missing children. One of the team members found a small crib in the corner of the children's room. When he leaned over the crib, his eyes widened in horror. There was a rotting stuffed bear on the bed covered in bloodstains. At that moment, all the electrical devices in the building started working simultaneously. The recorded voice echoed angrily this time. "You can't escape us!" The next morning, when the rescue teams entered the building, only Megan's camera was found inside. The camera was still recording. On the screen, her friends could be seen running down the corridor, one by one, being pulled into the darkness. In the final moments, Megan's face appeared. She was gasping for breath, trembling and whispering, "They're still here, not us. We're just their playthings now." The recording cut off at that moment. The institution remains closed, but some nights, those passing by the building claim to hear children's laughter coming from inside, and when they look in, see the camera lights.